Okay, a very good afternoon to all brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. So today is the 12th June 2022 Sunday. So we will be continuing with our sharing from this book, the 46 lessons of the six Patriarchs platform Sutra. We are at page 46. We stop at the place where the meditation just complete. Then they have the bell ding 3 times. Then I will read from there. Okay, for those who still wants to meditate, you can continue. This is what normally I will advise. And for those who have enough, you may slowly and mindfully come out of the meditation. So remember these two instructions. So every time the meditation stops, if you feel like continuing, you continue. You just maintain awareness and meditate. Otherwise, you feel that you have enough. You want to come out of it. You may slowly, the word is slowly and mindfully come out of it. Yeah, means don't be like in a rush. Suddenly lost your mindfulness again. Then just become conscious and just move without even having any awareness when you do all those things. And I say slowly and mindfully come out of the meditation means no need to hurry. Be at ease. Take your time. Then mindfully means with mindfulness and awareness you come out of the meditation means you are fully aware of all your activity and movement as you come out of the meditation. Then I always advise try to maintain whatever inner peace, inner calmness, and inner mindfulness that you have developed for as long as you can. Because when you meditate, you develop inner mindfulness, inner awareness, and you have some form of inner peace and inner calmness. So these are the mind states that are conducive for you to live the daily life. That's why you must try to maintain whatever inner peace, inner calmness, and inner mindfulness that you have developed for as long as you can. For these are the mind state that you have trained. And you need to use this trained mind state, which are your spiritual faculties, especially your sati or mindfulness, to cultivate your daily mindfulness. To be able to be in the state of awareness or mindfulness, we are the silent mind in sati throughout the day, most of the time, whenever you are awake. It's a very important aspect of the daily mindfulness training. So remember this. Then the next session is meditation reporting, followed by any question and answers. Now we will have the meditation reporting session. You can raise your hand to ask any meditation question or report your meditation, and I will help you to develop the understanding. So this type of session is very useful. It can give us a lot of understanding, and it can give rise to a lot of possibility of development of sharing and understanding. So coming to this particular topic, because the next Thursday we are going to have our physical Thursday class. So what I will do is our physical Thursday class, we will revert back to the old format. Because the old format is where we interact, just exactly like what we are going through during the Sunday session. Interact means after the half an hour meditation, awareness-based meditation, then we will open up for meditation reporting, followed by whatever question you may have, or we can include the Dhamma in daily life sharing by all those who have developed the cultivation. Then you can bring out various questions or topic that you want to understand so that we can discuss it. We are on the Thursday class. Normally we have the whiteboard. Then I can explain better. Yeah. Then Chinao can go back to last time, use the camera to maybe video on the whiteboard and also the audience. Then we will have better interaction through the video. So this is what we will do. So just bear in mind. Then I will continue. Then there is a question by Sister Mandy. Matthew, I understand that during my daily practice, I just need to silence my mind. Then I answer, I say, yes, just relax, maintain silence, and just aware, and let whatever happen arise. The awareness will develop the understanding. So this is a very important understanding and instruction. You just relax and silence your mind. So maintain silence is not easy because human beings are so conditioned. You think a lot, you verbalize a lot, you chatter a lot. Sometimes you talk to yourself without you knowing. And this is what heedless thinking is all about. The thought just arises to respond to memory and your habitual tendencies. So all this create the condition for thought to arise. And when thought is active, how can you be aware? So when you understand this, then you will understand what meditation is all about. Meditation is not only about formal meditation, where you train your mind to be aware, then use it to meditate in a formal posture. You have to continue your meditative training and bring it into your daily life. Because according to the Buddha, Dhammapada verse 21, heedfulness is the path to the deathless, and heedlessness is the path to the dead. The heedful never die, but the heedless are as if dead. So the instruction is very clear. The Buddha's message is very clear. You have to be heedful throughout the day. Otherwise, you are as if dead. The heedless are as if dead. So if you can only be mindful or heedful when you are in the formal meditation, then the rest of the day you are heedless. Heedlessly lost in thought, think alone, behaving the same old way without any inner awareness to guide you in your life. If you live your life that way, you will not be able to develop much wisdom. In fact, you can't develop any wisdom. Yeah. Maybe you can have some form of knowledge of the teaching, the Dhamma, but the real wisdom born of the direct seeing, the insight into phenomena via the silent mind, they cannot arise. Because this understanding can only surface when you are fully aware, heedful, mindful throughout the day. So when you understand this, you will know how to meditate. The form of meditation is to train ourselves so that the awareness can stabilize within our form and mind. When there is awareness, there is inner peace, inner calmness, inner awareness. Then you can perceive or realize your true mind, which is basically there all the time. But you fail to realize this true mind and silent mind or your awareness nature is because you think a lot. Man can only do one thing at a time. Either you are lost in thought or you are completely silent without thought so that you can be aware of what is going on within the moment. What is going on within the moment is very important. We have the inner awareness to be aware of external phenomena, external activity and movement. Then we can also develop awareness of our own thought process or form a mind, our own five aggregates. When you lack this inner awareness, you cannot be mindful at all. You cannot be with the moment. You cannot be aware of things that arise and pass away. You cannot see things as they are. You cannot insight into phenomena. And you cannot do all this. You are heedless. Where you think a lot. But to observe, you need the silence, the mindfulness, the awareness. That's why heedfulness is very important. So this training is not only in the formal meditation you train and stabilize your inner awareness, then observe. After you come out of that formal meditation, you should maintain whatever inner peace, inner calmness, and inner awareness that you have developed. Then slowly, mindfully come out of the meditation to continue this mindfulness activity so that throughout the day, your waking moment, you are aware, you are mindful of all your action, movement, and activity of mind. So ability to be aware will lead to your ability to be with the moment in specific phenomenal awareness or spacious awareness without a center. Means your nature is just aware. And all the activity and movement is one with your inner awareness nature. This is what meditation is all about. And this will lead to heedfulness. To be heedful, there are two components, the Buddha said under verse Dhammapada verse 23. The constantly meditative and ever mindful. If you keep these two practice, the steadfast one, you will realize the supreme, what they call enlightenment, nibbana. Mm. So to be ever mindful, you have to train yourself to be aware first, to be mindful first, then stabilize it to become ever mindful. Then the second component is when you are ever mindful, you can use it to meditate, to cultivate Noble Eightfold Path, following the teaching that the Buddha has proclaimed. So if you use it to cultivate Noble Eightfold Path, then it will lead to constantly meditative. Means throughout the day, when you are mindful, aware, heedful, you are contemplating the Dhamma. You are cultivating Noble Eightfold Path. And Noble Eightfold Path is a very big topic to cultivate. Even right view alone is a very big topic. To understand the three right view can take you a long time. And after that, based on right view, you develop the ability to arise right thought, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And each of these Noble Eightfold Path factor is a big topic. What constitutes right thought? To understand right thought, you must understand what constitutes wrong thought. When you can recognize wrong thought, then you can use the four right effort to abandon the wrong thought that condition the wrong speech, wrong action, and wrong livelihood. That's how the four right effort come into play. Then the five ways to overcome unwholesome thought, as taught by the Buddha, which is very useful and very comprehensive. And of the five ways, the third and the fourth way is the meditative way. So you must develop them. Then from there, you proceed with the other noble eightfold path factor. Then when you have the embodiment of the noble eightfold path, only then you can be in the state of constantly meditative. It's throughout the day, this cultivation of noble eightfold path is with you. You are mindful, you are aware, and you develop all this right view leading to right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, the four right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. When your mind states are throughout the day doing all these things, you are in a state of constantly meditative. Combining the two, it becomes heedfulness. That's why heedfulness is ever mindful, constantly meditative. Yeah. So with this understanding, we move on. We go back to the sharing. Okay. Then I continue by sharing that understanding which I have gone through just now. So I read again. Yes, just relax, maintain the silence within, then just aware and let whatever happen arise. When you are just aware, whatever happen within your form and mind, let it arise. Then the awareness will understand where it is in the state of silent observing. That's why you will know, you will understand why you become fearful, agitated, unhappy. How did your mundane mind stir and become emotional? You will see them. That's how you will trace the origination factor. How did fear arise? How did anger arise? How did emotion arise? How did sorrow arise? Then also, how did greed arise? How did the negative emotion of hatred, envy, jealousy, resentment, how they arise? Then how did the deluded mind become fearful, develop insecurity, phobia, worry, anxiety, sorrow, and lamentation? So all this through the silent mind you observe. Then you develop the ability to trace the origination factor. It's all through your wrong view, leading to all these wrong thoughts. That's why I always want you to understand what constitutes wrong thought. Wrong thought means thought that condition your fear, worry, anxiety, sorrow, lamentation, insecurity, phobia, your greed, your negative emotion. All these are wrong thoughts. They are suffering mind states. They are not virtue. They are not peaceful. They are not tranquil. They are not the mind states of a cultivator. So all this will let you understand clearly what constitutes wrong thought. So whenever you have this fear, worry, anxiety, sorrow, and lamentation, which I summarize as whenever you are not peaceful and unhappy, the wrong thoughts are there. So this is a very important, and this is how you trace. When you trace that you have all these mind states which are wrong thought, then you are not cultivating noble eightfold path. You are being heedless, creating all this negative tendency through your own sakayaditi, self-delusion, that trigger the evil roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. That's why these three evil roots will make you evil. And when you see all this through your meditative silent mind awareness, you start to understand how you become conditioned into all this negativity of mind state. And you start to understand why the Buddha said this is dukkha, suffering. Because all these are born of your self-delusion that condition you to grasp, cling and hold and want things your way. This is craving for sensual desire, or craving to be and not to be. Uh, so all these are craving born of delusion. So sensual craving already such a big topic. Then you have the other craving, which is craving to become something. Hmm. Then the last one is craving not to become that. That's why you got karma tanha, which is sensual craving. Then craving to be, bhava tanha. Then vibhava tanha, craving not to be. So when we observe through the silent mind, which is our awareness within, we develop insight, we awaken, we develop understanding. Then we ask ourselves, we inquire, why did we do all this? How did it arise? So from there, you trace the origination factor. These are due to our sakayaditi, our wrong view. So what must we do? We must straighten our view. We must reverse all this. How do we straighten our view? Because we have been perceiving things according to memory, according to our views, opinion, and conditioning and belief system. We act according to memory. That's how we get ourselves into trouble. Instead of doing that, can you straighten your view to see things as they are and accept the reality of the moment? Means you act according to wisdom, born of direct seeing, born of direct insight into phenomena. Where through observation, we already come to know these are all wrong view, conditioning, belief system, born of memory, our phobia, our insecurity, our deep resentment is insecurity and unhappy scars of memory. So all this, we have to develop the understanding to reverse it. And to reverse it is not difficult when you understand. We follow what the Buddha had advised us in his teaching. He said we must learn to see things as they are. We must have right view. We must not distort what we see. So if you perceive things the way it is, then there is no duality. There is no right and wrong, good and bad. There is no reaction to what you perceive, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you think, what you tactily feel and believe in. So this is the answer. To develop wisdom to free your mind. Wisdom will arise. Because when I can see this clearly and accept the reality of the moment means thing is just the way it is. Why do we want to command, interfere, and develop all the views, opinion, and conditioning, and all the argument, all the division, leading to conflict, misunderstanding, leading to so-called human problem, especially misunderstanding that lead to argument, violence, conflict, and all those things, war. They come from the mind that doesn't understand. The mind that understands doesn't do any of all this. They just accept the reality. Reality means what? Living beings are just the way they are. Deluded people do deluded things. Selfish people do selfish things. Ignorant people do ignorant things. So when you accept them for what they are, you are at peace. Then the world is the world. Condition like that, things will be like that. It cannot be otherwise. You have to come to terms with whatever reality that arises in life. If it happened already, means there are causes and conditions behind, like what the Buddha said. You accept first. Doesn't mean you don't act. You accept first with right view. When you accept, you are at peace. Remember that. Means you don't blame, you don't get emotional, you don't get angry, you don't hit out at others. You don't do anything. Acceptance is wisdom, is understanding the reality. When I accept, I am at peace. My mind didn't do all those stupid things that condition wrong thought that leads to suffering, misery. Then after that, I act with what? Wisdom, understanding, following noble eightfold path. Then I ask myself, what happened? Then I recall, like the Buddha said, we are all born our karma, heir to our karma, conditioned and supported by our karma. We are what we are because of our karma. So very likely it's 99.999% related to karma. So what must we do? We have to accept. If we still do karma, I must act based on that right view with regards to law of karma, karma niyama. So if we still do karma, mean in the past, like the Buddha said, you must have done certain things that condition this type of suffering to others. Then the law of karma is you reap what you sow. Do good begets good, do evil begets evil. You are born of your karma, heir to your karma. Condition is supported by your karma. You are what you are because of karma. So you do what you have to do to reverse all this. Not to get angry over it, not to become miserable and unhappy over it, not to go and remorse and do all those stupid things or deluded things. So this understanding will enable us to have the right view, to be at peace. Then we ask ourselves, how can we resolve all this amicably so that nobody suffers? So that we can resolve all this once and for all, that this karmic thing will not perpetuate, will not come back and haunt us or create more suffering to living beings. So this is how you solve it. So in order to resolve this amicably, what did the Buddha taught us? If you need to ask for forgiveness, you ask for forgiveness. That's how you do your repentance. That's why in the yellow card, I teach you how to do it. In the chanting book, also I teach you how to do it. So asking for forgiveness followed by repentance is the first thing you have to do. Then when you repent, you must repent with understanding. Repentance means I know these are wrong. This lead to karmic negativity, suffering. Yeah, I reap what I sow. These are wrong action, negative action, not following noble eightfold path. They are in opposition to noble eightfold path. They violate the nature's law, law of karma. So because of that, I repent through vowing not to do all this again. Means in the future, no more. We are what? Following the advice of the Buddha to avoid all evil, do good, and purify the mind. And that is how cultivation starts. When you follow the advice of the Buddha, you begin your cultivation. That is from the right view in regards to law of karma. So, cultivating this advice of the Buddha is sila, samadhi, and panya. We have to avoid all evil is to keep your precept, sila. To cultivate goodness is to cultivate noble eightfold path practice, which is the samadhi path factor, leading to wisdom. Yeah. So the wisdom part is sati and samadhi. So when you cultivate avoiding all evil, sila, Then cultivate wholesomeness. Last one is purification of mind leading to wisdom is sila, samadhi, and panya. So if you start this process of cultivation, developing the faith to renew your precept every day, then maintain your precept well, then develop pariyatti, the first phase of Dhamma, understand what is the teaching, then put it into practice, then develop the understanding of it. Then from there, you can change your life, improve your life. Because when you follow the advice of the Buddha, you change your karma, you develop wholesomeness, you avoid all evil, you do good. Means you take care of karma. When you take care of karma, karma take care of your life. And you become different. You become virtuous. You are no more evil. You are no more deluded and heedless. That's how the transformation takes place. Then the third thing that you have to do is to invoke power of merit. Because after you cultivate the advice of the Buddha, you will develop a lot of wholesomeness, a lot of merits. You will be cultivating the 10 meritorious actions. You will have a lot of virtue and blessing. Then you can invoke power of merits and blessings for condition to turn around, to improve your life, to bring about certain good conditions, like to avoid the foolish, meet up with the wise, so that enlightenment in the here and the now can be realized. So all these are in the teaching. But nobody understands it in such manner to guide cultivator to apply it, to use it. That's why I have to keep on repeating all this so that it sinks in, so that it can become a part of your understanding, so that you don't go and do all those foolish things like normal people do. But when you cultivate just for knowledge, you will not be able to understand the essence of the Buddha's teaching. You cannot free because you lack the right understanding. So this today's sharing is very important. Huh? Go back, listen to this, and stabilize it until it become a part of you. That you will know how to apply them in every situation in life. Then believe me, trust me, you will progress very fast, and you will have the good life very fast. Then whatever coming obstruction, you can overcome them. No problem. Okay. So we go back to the sharing. Okay, so I have already finished the answer part on how to develop this. Then now we continue with Sister Mindy's question. She asked, how can I contemplate more on the 12 link of the law of dependent origination? So this 12 link, Paticca Samuppada, is the second right view, the law of dependent origination. Somebody's might not tell you of it. Wait, I ask Chin how to turn off. Okay. So all off already. We go back to sharing. So I read to you the answer. You should come out of the formal meditation, then only you do the contemplation. This is to avoid confusion. Because a lot of people doesn't understand. When you say you can also contemplate in a formal meditation, which is possible, but you have to be very skillful in your meditation. Your mindfulness has to be very stable. Then only you can do that. Otherwise, it becomes thinking. You are not meditating. Because when thought is active, the mindfulness is gone. You cannot see, you cannot understand. But when you have developed some form of understanding, then you can reflect on that understanding, contemplate into it to stabilize that understanding. And that one is possible. But initially, if you are not skillful, try not to do it. Come out of your form of meditation, then only you can recollect and develop the contemplative wisdom or contemplation. You don't contemplate during the formal meditation. When you are doing the meditation, if you try to contemplate, you will cause the thought to arise. That's why I say without that stability, don't. This is where a lot of cultivators fail to understand. When you are meditating, you just relax and maintain awareness and silence your mind. Unless you can develop the stability of silence, this is the part, until it is so stable and clear, such that when something happens, you can reflect on it and contemplate on it to develop the wisdom or the understanding. Unless you have this stability, otherwise try not to. But while you are in the formal meditation, don't do it. When you do it, you are not in the meditative state anymore. But there is this active mode of contemplation. That one you should only do when you are out of the formal meditation. Let's say you go for a walk or go for a walking meditation. What do? Don't be a zombie. Huh? Don't be like very rigid, follow instruction until you don't know what you are doing. Walking meditation is just walking meditation. What did the Buddha say? Walking away. Why can't you just do that? Just relax and be in a silent awareness state. To be aware of everything that is going on during the walking. Then you stop somewhere. Like well in the Cameron Highlands retreat. You can either walk down towards the staircase or go out to the monastery's vicinity. You can also walk up to the hilltop or any place that is quiet and you can just look at nature. Then then whatever that arises from your nature, just reflect and contemplate. You want to go through the Four Noble Truths, the First Noble Truth, the first turning, you contemplate and reflect. Then sometimes you can also sit on a bench somewhere quiet. And during that quiet moment, you can silence your mind and just contemplate. When you contemplate, you just throw out the inquiry. Whatever you want to understand, like the first noble truth of dukkha. Why did the Buddha say birth, old age, sickness, and death are suffering? Separation from loved ones, prized possession, and all the things we hold on to dearly is suffering. To be with people whom we don't like is suffering. When we can't get what we want, when things don't go our way, when our expectations in life are not met, also leads to suffering. Then why did the Buddha say, in short, in the final summary, all this you can reflect and contemplate. So the final summary, I hope by now most of you would have understood. The Buddha said, in short, it is due to your self-delusion, sakayaditi, that condition you into grasping and clinging to your five aggregate of form and mind, namarupa, that condition, dukkha or suffering. So that final summary is very important. Why did the Buddha say that? And how can you understand that? So to understand that, you need to understand what are the five aggregate of form and mind. Then only you can put it to test. All this come from inquiry, contemplation, reflection. Then I continue. It depends on which one you choose, like birth. Why did the Buddha say birth is suffering? Then you can recall to mind via mindfulness, recollecting what the birth process is like. You cannot recall your own birth because you were too young. Then as a mother, you can recall how you give birth to your child. Then before you give birth, what other things you experienced during the confinement stages and conceiving stages. Then as you reflect and contemplate, this reflection and contemplation, or what we call recollection through memory, will give rise to understanding. They call this the recollection phase. Based through memory, you can slowly, mindfully recollect. But when you are mindful, all this memory can come back. As you recollect, you mindfully go through the birth process. Then, like all of a sudden, you can recall during that time, you had a lot of pain, like morning sickness, vomiting, and other side effect of pregnancy. Then sometimes you have to see the doctor. You have to go for follow-up. As the pregnancy develops, as the baby or the fetus grows, it starts to kick you and give you a lot of other discomfort. Your movement become affected as the baby grows, as your womb develop and expand, etc. You recollect all the stages leading to the birth itself. Whatever you can recollect, your memory can help you develop the understanding. Then suddenly you will understand. No wonder the Buddha said, birth is suffering. But there is so much suffering that comes with birth. And through this experience, you will also develop gratitude towards your mother who has gone through that birth process and give birth to you. So all this understanding will come. That's why as you become the mother yourself, you will have more understanding towards your parents, how they sacrifice, how they actually care for you, sacrifice for you, protect you, and provide you with all the love, the necessity of life. So all this understanding, as you reflect, it will surface. Then you become more understanding. You develop more gratitude towards your parents, especially your mother, your love for them, your gratitude towards them. This is how you develop good understanding of life. This is how you become a child that has understanding and gratitude towards your parents for what they have given you and sacrificed to deliver you and bring you to the world, to give you life, to give you all the conditions to become what you are. So this understanding is very profound, very beautiful. And this is what Dhamma is all about. It's about truth, about reality, about life. It's not about all the fanciful theory. No, it's life itself, every moment, every instant, when we experience them, when we reflect upon them, when we contemplate deep into them. This understanding stabilizes. Then we become different. We become true human beings. We are no longer like people who don't have gratitude. In Mandarin, they got a very strong word, 忘恩负义. Means you don't have gratitude at all. You just take things for granted and don't care. You're so selfish. So I read on. After the baby is born, the baby will experience old age, sickness, and death. And this will lead to more suffering. And these are the realities. This is the Dhamma that the Buddha wants you to understand. That as a baby is born, there is attachment to it. The mother, the parent, the grandparent, and those who have relationship with the child, they will all have attachment. Then if anything were to happen to the child, the parent and their loved ones will worry for them. And there is attachment leading to suffering. That's how it happened. That's why Upadana Khandas, the grasping aggregate, are suffering. Then when there are complications during birth, it will lead to more suffering. All this, you will start to understand. Then you will reflect deeper and further on why the Buddha said this is suffering. And this suffering is to be understood under the second turning of the first noble truth. The first turning of the first noble truth is just the proclamation of truth by the Buddha. Birth is suffering. Then the second turning inquiry should be, why did the Buddha say birth is suffering? You have gone through this reflection and contemplation, you will understand why. If you don't reflect and contemplate, you cannot understand the birth process, how it brings about suffering. Then why birth is to be understood. You have to inquire deeply why the Buddha said that. If you don't understand what suffering is, it means when you are caught in suffering, you still don't know that it's suffering because you cannot see the attachment behind. You cannot see how the outcome of birth leads to all this suffering or dukkha. As you reflect and contemplate via the second turning, you will develop the understanding to confirm what the Buddha said is very true. Birth is indeed suffering. Well, birth is part of the human condition. For the physical form goes the way of nature. So this is a human condition. You will then come to understand another reality. That this birth, old age, sickness and death are the realities of life and existence. And each and every living being has to experience and confront all this reality when the time comes. If you live long enough, if you have the condition to confront them, and if you confront them without wisdom, you will attach, you will cling, and you will grasp, and you will develop the suffering, the fear, the worry, the anxiety. And then you will understand how the mind gets itself entangled. That's why we call it the grasping aggregate. The cause of suffering is attachment, clinging, grasping, thinking that this shall really belong to you, the atta, the ego, etc. In reality, it's only a form and mind like yours. The form goes the way of nature and is made up of the four elements. The four elements are the physical elements of Parthavi, the earth element, or solidity element, the hardness and the softness of the form. Yeah. Then the wind element, Vayu, like our breath, our pulse of life, and whatever vibration that is within our body. Then you have the heat element, which is the Tejo aspect of the physical body. Then you have the water element, which is Apo or cohesion. Then you realize that these four elements are part of nature and their states will fluctuate and they are interchangeable. That's why the four elements, they return to nature. They go the way of nature. When you have excessive heat, you will have fever and you will have problems. When you have too little heat, you will be affected by the weather condition. The external factor, because of the climate. When the weather is very cold, very chilly, it will cause your temperature to drop and you will feel the instability within the elements. This will lead to suffering in the form. And the consciousness that is trapped inside will experience all this. Then without the consciousness, without attachment, you will realize that the element just goes the way of nature. That's why when you cultivate Kaya Nupassana, the last category of practice, which is the 9 stages of 7-3 decomposition. When the form is devoid of consciousness, this understanding very important. When our physical form is devoid of the mind or consciousness, or when the consciousness has departed or come out of this body's 4 elements, which goes the way of nature, then it will decay. Then there is no more feeling, no more perception, no more activity of mind or mental state, and no more consciousness. That's why you cannot feel anything. There is no suffering. There is no more mind to develop the attachment and the suffering. You will understand without mind, there is nothing. Then you move on to the understanding of the mind. You can then check, is feeling really me? Are perception really me? Are the mental states of mind, mental activity, mental volition, or whatever sankhara that arise, are they really me? Because when they arise and pass away, did you die? This nature never dies. So how can they be you? They arise and pass away because they are conditioned arising Dhamma, hence impermanent and not you. So you have to understand this. If you attach and cling to feeling, to perception, to mental states, your views, your opinion, and your conditioning, you will suffer. Even when you are attached to consciousness, you will also suffer. Then you will come to realize that the final summary, as proclaimed by the Buddha, is so true. It's attachment that conditions suffering. So this part is on the contemplation. Then you can move into the other realities of the first noble truth, the second noble truth, the third noble truth, and the fourth noble truth. Again, you can go for the first turning, second turning, which is the contemplation, and the third turning, which is the meditative or meditation. Where when you really meditate, the wisdom that arises is bhavana maya panya, wisdom born of bhavana, which is the meditative training or the meditation itself. It doesn't involve the thought or any contemplation anymore. That's why the turning is all about meditative. It's just the silent mind that is aware. It will awaken to the universal characteristics of all phenomena. That's why you must be aware of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The first foundation is Kaya Nupassana, where you first train your mind in Anapanasati to develop sati. Then after that, you are ready to move on to cultivate the mindfulness of the 4 bodily postures, followed by the mindfulness of all your movements in the present moment. And that is the daily mindfulness training, or mindfulness and clear comprehension, cultivation, sati sampajana. When you develop this, you are cultivating the third turning, your insight into phenomena, the 3 universal characteristics of impermanent, suffering state, and non-self or empty nature of existence. When you have the initial understanding, then you will start to have an understanding of why the Buddha said that the 5 aggregate of form and mind are impermanent, leading to suffering. Hence, non-self, empty, not me. That is the beginning of the cultivation of no mark of a self. If you don't even exist, how can others exist? That's why no mark of others too, no mark of your loved ones, and all those things. Then there is no reality, no mark of life. Everything is dependent originating, condition arising, and just a causal phenomenon, a phenomenal world of consciousness. Mind make our day, hence no reality. Then when this understanding deepens, as you silence your mind to awaken to their universal characteristic, you will become transformed, completely different. After that, you can reflect and contemplate until your understanding becomes very clear and very stable. That in the midst of your daily life, as you continue to be silent, aware, and mindful, all of a sudden one day you will come upon an insight that will allow you to understand deeply and clearly the three universal characteristics. That is all of a sudden you will awaken to the three universal characteristics of anicca, dukkha, and anatta, because everything is just the way it is. These are the universal characteristics inherent in all phenomena. That's why you will realize that all phenomena, be they physical or mental or nature's phenomena, they exhibit these three universal characteristics. Then you will start to understand that truth is everywhere in the midst of life and nature. The universal characteristics of impermanent, suffering state, and non-self or empty nature characteristics are everywhere. This is the truth, the reality, which is everywhere in the midst of life and nature. Then the question is, why can't you see? That's why I always say, for those who see, the enlightened ones, they always see. There is the final awakening leading to liberation of mind from all bondage. When you have that understanding after the awakening, it means your mindfulness is already very stable. Then in the midst of life and nature, the characteristics of nature are everywhere, so clear, so vivid, and so beautiful. And that will allow you to further develop the contemplative wisdom until this understanding becomes very stable. Then there is no more doubt. That's how you liberate your mind. When there is no more doubt, you will have at least cleared the first stage of sainthood, which means the first three fetters that binds living being to this world are already severed. There are a total of 10 fetters. The first one is satiety or self-delusion. The second one is attachment to rites and rituals. You won't believe all this rite and ritual anymore because you have understood that there is no permanent unchanging entity within the form and mind that we can call this is me, this is I. And therefore, all this can be mine. So all the so-called uh, fortune teller story or predict after you die already you become one, forget about it. Because there is no reality. Who died? What died? Nothing died. But the form and mind is different. The form and mind has its karmic. It's subject to karma. That one, it will continue. That's why the teaching teaches to understand it clearly, not to be deluded by all this. So when you understand all this, whatever people tell you about beliefs, rites and ritual, or tradition, you can forget about it. Means they don't understand. They try to deceive people, delude people. They themselves also not sure. They also don't understand. But if you look at it, it is good money. And they can put a lot of fear into people who don't understand and tend to like develop the fear. Out of fear, what you do? Yeah? You tend to believe. You say, then what must I do? Then they say, oh, you must follow my advice. You must do this, do that, and all those things. Then you believe. That's why you become gullible. When you understand the Dhamma, the truth, all this, no more meaning. What is most important? Take care of karma. That's why I say feng shui has its own limitation. There is a science on feng shui, but it's limited because it plays such a minor role in life. The main one is the law of karma. If you don't take care of karma, whatever feng shui, uh, it's not going to help you much, I tell you. Like the Buddha say, we are all born our karma. add to our karma, conditions support our karma, and we are what we are because of karma. You are not born of your feng shui. No matter what feng shui you do, if you don't take care of karma, sorry to say, that's it, finish. But if you take care of karma, then the real thing will happen. That's why the teaching is so different from what is believed, traditional societies, belief systems, and all those things. Okay, we go back to the sharing. Then even if people were to tell you after you die, you will become one and one, you will know that there is no such thing. Where this is only the form and mind, hence not me and no reality. The form and mind is never me because there is no more delusion, sakkaditi, self-delusion. You won't believe in rites and ritual, and you will not be gullible anymore. The third factor is the faith in the teaching, the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, the Sangha. It will become unshakable. Because by then, the understanding is already so clear. Nature's law, the existential law, and all of the five universal order, Pancha-niyama, will also become very clear to you. That's why you will have no more doubt, and your faith will be unshakable. And you will come to understand that the triple gem with the teachings of the Four Noble Truths is a secret of life. You will understand them. You will have no more doubt in this teaching because it's all about truth, the Four Noble Truths. These Four Noble Truths are universal truth because the moment you understand them, you can become noble ones or enlightened ones. It's like the secret of life. When you understand the secret of life, you will know how to live life. And then you are not deluded or deceived by the form and mind anymore. Because you know this is not me, but only a karmically conditioned form and mind, or vehicle and tool for us to come to this existential world. Likewise, all other living beings are the same, for everything is dependent originating, condition arising, and a causal phenomenon. All this will become very clear to you. So when you meditate, during the formal meditation, don't contemplate. But when you come out of it, you can contemplate. Sometimes, like I said, if within the silent formal meditation, all of a sudden something happened, then you can decide to come out of it to reflect and contemplate on it. If that is the case, even while in the meditative state, you can also reflect and contemplate, provided you can do it mindfully, then no problem. But you have to be very clear about the conscious decision that you have made. And you can be mindful of what you are doing. If you decide to contemplate, then you are not meditating. You reflect and contemplate to develop a deeper and more stable understanding of what has happened. But the thing you want to contemplate must be from the Four Noble Truths, because the contemplation is about the second turning of the first, second, third, and fourth Noble Truth. These are the cultivation processes. So don't worry. Huh? When you are in the formal meditation, just relax and silent. Okay, I think we stop here, better, so that we can have enough for next sharing. What is the page? Oh, okay, so I'll mark this page. Okay, now it's 4:15. We shall have 3 minutes of time break. Then we can have our 45 minutes of awareness-based meditation. You can have your formal meditation, awareness-based meditation. Then, as usual, I will set the alarm. Then I will off the light. Then, when you all come back from your toilet break, you straight away go into the meditation. Just the full support, relax, maintain awareness, stabilize the awareness, then trust that nature to do. So always remember, silent, relax, maintain awareness. Then let the mundane mind return to its original state so that you can realize your true mind, your true nature, your awareness nature. Okay. Okay, you all can slowly, mindfully come out of meditation. As explained earlier on, you already have the understanding of what is awareness-based meditation is. You need to be heedful throughout the day. So whatever mind state you have developed while you are going through the formal training, you must maintain them for as long as you can. Your inner peace, inner calmness, and inner awareness that you have developed for as long as you can. Then develop a good religious routine, like a daily religious routine. Every day when you wake up first thing, pay respect to Patriarch. Then after that, you want to meditate for a while, you can. Otherwise, you need to go for toilet break or whatever. You go. Then you develop the morning religious routine of meditation. Then after that, share merit, transfer merit. Then pay respect to Patriarch. Then if you take the Bodhisattva vow, you can renew and develop the faith and stability of it. Then after that, maintain mindfulness throughout the day. Whenever you are awake in the active mode, when you are conscious. So whatever you do in life, maintain mindfulness, awareness. Then develop the contemplative training to contemplate Dhamma whenever there is condition. Then live life. Living life is most important when you already have the understanding and the Dhamma, and when your mind already transformed. You can live life, truly live life to the fullest. Then the phase 3 of Dhamma Pativeda can become a living reality. Okay, now we will go to our maybe meditation reporting, followed by Q&A. And also those who have something to share.
Yeah, good afternoon, Brother
Yeah,
Teo.
good afternoon, yes.
Very good revision today on how to train our mind to be heedful and to cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path.
Yeah. How to develop the right understanding, right view, to straighten our view, and how to see the silent mind observing truth.
Hello, Amitabha,
yes.
Brother Teo,
Amitabha,
and Sister Teo, and all Kayamitas. Thank you, Sister Elsie. Somehow I kind of figure out that Sister Elsie will call me.
Wow, sadhu.
It's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah. What a coincidence. Yeah, sadhu.
So, anyway, today's lesson is really, really good about mindfulness and heedfulness.
Yes.
And before I talk about that, I wanted to comment about Sister Elsie sharing last Tuesday. Actually, Sister Elsie sharing is, although it's very simple, but that is how I felt when I wasn't maybe don't say wasn't, but in the early stage of my cultivation or when I started learning
before you
Dharma.
have the understanding.
Yes, that is how I felt like I'm lazy, today I don't want to go for class because I attended classes in the temple, right? So I said, very lazy, always have excuses not to attend class, that kind of feeling, that you have 1,001 thing to do and lazy. So it's very normal at the initial stage of the cultivation when we start to learn. So I can relate to her. In that aspect of a problem that the mundane mind will give you a lot of excuses, that kind of thing. So when I hear her saying that, I was full of joy. That I mean that is very normal, and that's human being,
Correct.
So so how
before one have the understanding, one cannot settle down. So the mundane mind will create reasoning, thought process, then try to give reason why cannot attend and try not to attend and all those things, which is very normal. But once you develop the interest and the understanding, you become different. The virya, the faith, you go all out. Like what happened to you.
Yes, exactly, Brother. That's what I was trying to tell her also, that once that you develop the joy, and the faith in the Dharma, wow, the virya just come, you don't need to do anything. It just very different. The virya just come and you say, alamak, how come I have so much?
Motivate you and move you and develop the interest in all those things that you never believe it can be possible.
Correct. Yes, correct. Somehow that virya itself just drive you. You don't need to do anything, it just continue the joy overflow, and then it just push you. You don't have to do anything. It just move you along. You just feel very happy and joyous and happy and joyous.
Sadhu.
So that is the part that I find really joyful, hearing her saying that. And then she will move to that stage. She will be able to move to that stage that I had, previously, So I was so joyful when I heard her saying that, So I like to give her a lot of faith, that the virya will drive her, so she doesn't need to do anything,
Sadhu.
Yes.
This can give Kayamitas who haven't really settled in all the virya, the saddha, and the faith that is possible, where even you yourself started that way. And in fact, most new people, they are like that, where they don't know what this thing is. But there are some already the faith very strong from the past, but they can't find good teacher. They can't find the right guide. So they were not able to move. But the moment they see and realize that this is something so different and so beautiful, somebody who can really teach, wow, they become very different. The faith become very different. Just like when I met my refuge teacher, when I met Acharya and some of the guys who were able to share with me all those important pointers and understanding, my nature just moved. And before that, it already moved, but different. When you meet them, it push you further and give you that condition to develop the faith very strongly. And like I used to say, when the time comes, when you are ready, the teacher come, the guide come, the book come, everything come. Then everything fall into place. Then you just accord and flow. Then it will manifest. And everyone is different. So conditions are in accordance with the individual, because karmically everyone is different too. Your past, your conditioning, your training, your belief system, everything are so different. We are living beings that can come from very diverse past, diverse conditioning. So all this make the individual unique. Then even some initially they may not be Buddhist, but somehow when they come into contact with the teaching that they have affinity with, somehow they really move and they like know that this is what they have been searching for very long. Just like in the case of Ajahn Chalo is the same. He's an Australian living in Brisbane. Then suddenly, at the later age of his youth, he suddenly got interested in Buddhism, meditation. Then he became a monk. And that was his story. And his story was very interesting. So you can have very different type of personality and individual. That's why when it comes to Dhamma training, it is not important what your background is, because each and every one of us, we are very different, very different. Although physically, external form, this life, we may appear to be like Asian or Chinese or whatever. Then sometimes they are not Asian. There are some who are of another maybe race or a color, but they can understand the Dhamma, then they can move. And I think nowadays it's quite common to come across people of this kind or nature. Yeah, you continue. Sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, Pujay.
No, but Bharatu, what you say is very true. I've seen how you call that African Muslim Bante also,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
sadhu.
but they have to go through a lot of objection from the parents
Yeah.
to become a monk,
Yes,
So
yes.
really salute him for going through the objection and how he will come to get the approval from the parents. And of course, the parents disown him,
Yeah.
initially, but subsequently, whether the parents approve or not too sure, but
Yeah.
initially he
Yeah.
really objection, but he persevere, that he persevere, and his strong faith in Buddhism is so strong despite the objection. Of course, he suffer more than the normal, people that become a monk with approval of
Yeah,
parents.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you
all
are
this
chased out of the family.
has their karmic past.
Yeah.
Well, in the past, very likely this person that you described, the African or who wants to become a monk, in the past, when some of his children wants to go the spiritual path, he must have objected and created a lot of problem. Then this life, when it's turn to go this way, the karmic obstruction will come. You have to endure all this. You have to go through all this. You have to understand karmic obstruction are very real. That's why that day I advise Elsie to ask for forgiveness and develop the repentance stronger, and so that all this karmic obstruction or whatever they can be watered down, and maybe amicably uh, removed or amicably resolved, so that she can have the causes and conditions to move and to develop the cultivation accordingly, like most Kayamita who has developed the understanding and the condition to really progress very well. So whatever you go through in life, reflect, contemplate, and understand that they are related to our karmic from the past. By this time, when I look back on my cultivation, my condition, I knew they have been developed through the understanding from the past. Then I saw a lot with a lot of karmic obstruction, a lot. Even the last session, I think Jin Hao after that class also told me, wow, is it the coming of session really hit him? He has to go through almost, he said, 10 years. Uh, uh, it's not easy. 12 years, something like that. Then later on, we see how, if Jin Hao want to share a bit, he can share, which is very good. So these are common, not to worry. You continue, project. Yeah.
Okay, Brother Theo, I want to share a little bit about the Bodhisattva vow. Just now you mentioned, like the
Yes.
religious routine. It brings to mind what happened to me this morning, So
Sadhu.
I did the Bodhisattva vows this morning.
Mm.
So as I was doing it, which part of it? After I finished the invocation of the power of merits, then the
Yes.
urge for me not to continue with the Bodhisattva vow, but the urge to 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 express my gratitude instead, Brother Teo.
Yeah, you can,
Yeah.
because it will
So
arise.
it arise by
Yeah,
itself. So I
yeah,
say, how come I must do this? So I do it, so I do it. Then
yeah.
after that, Brother
You
Teo, what
can move
happened?
away from the schedule and just do what that nature arise and with you.
That nature arise
Yeah,
and tell me I do this
yeah,
gratitude,
yeah.
and then from the heart, wow, the heart was like pulling me to say that, and then it showed to me in the heart that it
Oh,
is the pulsation of the heart triggering me to say the gratitude, Brother Teo.
yeah.
So it
Sadhu,
urged me to
sadhu.
say the gratitude. So
Yeah, well,
I
your
and the,
nature want you to
yes,
express it. That's why the
yes. So
nature within has this deep gratitude.
yes,
In fact, PG also used to have that because her mind very strong when she go inside there, the very deep gratitude of whatever emotion born of the nature's understanding. That one was surface. Good, Sadhu.
yeah, sadhu.
Mm.
So Brother Teo, so I have to express it out
Yeah,
and
let it come out. Then that
let it come out.
joy, that tears, very different.
Yes,
It's very deep within. Uh,
yes. The joy
it
lah,
all,
not tears, but the joy of it that I
yeah,
was able to
yes,
express it out and then
yeah,
do it with awareness of it lah. That this
yeah,
is what
yeah,
I need to do. This is what I
yeah.
need to do to
Correct. It will
express my
manifest
gratitude.
on.
Yes, yes. It just
Because
manifests.
in the early days of my cultivation, it happened many times, many times, when I was doing the routine, when I was overseas with Ajahn Yantrong, I remember, when I was listening to the sharing, the Dhamma, then suddenly when he talked about the Bodhisattva Sakyamuni in one of the early life, how he actually, through very difficult condition, he still want to make offering to the Sambuddha. And I remember the incident when he said he only got the needle that she used to earn a living to make offering to the Sambuddha, which they have decided to invite. Uh, and when he made that decision and made the offering, he was full of joy. He just forget about the thought that keep on like prompting him to better decide properly. Where this is the only needle that you can have to earn a living. You give that out, what will happen to your life? He don't even have time to think of that. He just out of that joy and understanding, he just want to give. But initially, he was fighting very hard. Then when he finally won over and just decided to give, and when he made the offering, at that time, my nature also had that deep joy. That it knew it can also do it. Exactly like Sakyamuni. Because how rare is it to come across a Sammasambuddha? So you don't worry about what you give up. because whatever you give out will come back in abundance. And the understanding will enable you to do it. So all this will manifest. Then, like I shared with you earlier on, after about maybe I was at the age of 35 when I received the Dhamma. So it was 20 over years past. But the incident where I told you I almost drowned, where the basketball came back to me when I was 8 years old. So it was 27 years ago. I almost forgot about the incident. But when it happened, I knew something behind. Otherwise, it cannot happen. Some mystical thing happened, and there must be some great beings that have helped me. Then suddenly, after the understanding of the Dhamma, at the age of 35, I came to that understanding and realized that in front of my house altar, in front of Kuan Yin, I make that gratitude, respect, and bow. And when I was bowing, expressing my gratitude towards Kuan Yin's nature, suddenly from the Kuan Yin image there, that vision came back to me of basketball when I was 8 years old in the river. Then I knew already it was Kuan Yin's nature. That's why straight away that deep nature, gratitude came out, the tears, everything came out. Then that joy. Then I pay my respect again and thank Kuan Yin deeply for the blessing, protection, and guidance. And my nature knew Kuan Yin's nature has been blessing, protecting, and guiding my nature all this while. Then it continued to thank Kuan Yin's nature for all the blessing, protection, and guidance those far. So all this, they will manifest. Then sometimes when I went overseas to like attend spiritual trip or Katina or whatever, all this also, they manifest. And when it manifests, you will know where the nature from deep within it arises. But there must be reason for it. So all this you will understand. That when it arises, is so beautiful, so deep. That joy, that gratitude, that thing that manifests. This is what spiritual cultivation is all about. Spiritual understanding is all about. That when you have those penetrative understanding and cultivation, you will come across all this manifestation. Then you can develop the understanding yourself. That's why without condition, I will not be able to share all this. But once there is condition, other Kayamitas or cultivator who has control, and then I can share more and more, more and more. That's why these are beautiful sharing that can give rise to faith and understanding. Yeah. So all these are possible. Coaching. Sadhu to you, huh?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Radio is very beautiful story that you relate to us about your past. Actually, it's kind of like give us extra faith and confidence. Beside my own experience, I know that I have this deep joy coming out, rising from my nature to express my gratitude, in the midst of my bodhisattva vows, But also it's like very, very amazing that I just follow my nature,
just naturally it will manifest when the condition is there.
Yes, correct. So it was like so deep, and sometimes when you hear Kayamita say whether they are doing it right or not, whether they are parroting the Bodhisattva, that kind of thing. But actually, they just have to have the faith and sincerity, and persevere. One day, then when the nature arises, it will just show it to you.
It will
then
manifest.
It will happen. Yes. So not to worry about all this that your thought tell you. deviate you, not to do this, not to do that,
Yeah,
but everything is from our own sincerity, and perseverance to do it,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
not to doubt and not to say,
Yes.
yes.
Once the
So
faith is
this one,
there, the doubt is no more.
yes. So from my experience, I can tell that that we just have faith, sincerity, and persevere on.
Perseverance, yes. That's why
Yes,
I remember this three was the driving force. That's why I say you have these three qualities. The Dhamma will be there.
yes, yes.
You will become beautiful.
Then another so after that I just finish off with continue on with my other
Yeah.
miscellaneous things and so forth
Yes. Yes.
but
Yes.
it was like halfway it was interrupted with this nature that comes
Yeah.
out that need to do it that kind of thing. So but I
Yes.
was full of joy that that's
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
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 Yes,
When it
it's very nice.
happens, just let it be. Accord and
Yes, correct.
flow. You don't have to like, oh no, the thought will come in and interfere. How can I
Yeah,
divert? Don't
yeah.
worry.
Yes, yes,
Whatever the condition, your nature will know. You do what you have to do. Then after
yes,
that, everything will fall into place. That's why the true Dhamma is not rigid.
yes,
You
correct,
may
correct.
have a routine already prepared, but you need
Yes.
not follow because when condition is such, it will manifest differently and you will understand. Uh,
So
so
it's
a
so
lot of
beautiful.
things in life is like that. That's why you cannot like through your memory or through your past knowledge try to anticipate things. Your thing is in a state of flux, continuously evolving, moving. Then whatever will be, will be. So with our understanding, sometimes the understanding will allow you to know that this thing is already in this movement. It will surface, it will happen. But then anything can just happen and change because Dhamma is the way it is. Everything is in a state of flux, not something that is already predestined that we can like uh, fix it. No, according to condition, it evolve and manifest. Then whatever that evolve and manifest, they are dependent originating, condition arising, causal phenomena, not one living being things. So all this understanding, they will stabilize, and become very different. That's why you will never hold on to your knowledge, become rigid about things. No more. That's why that day even Alicia shared with Elsie on is very good. He said just echo and flow and be natural. So that one is very important. Echo and flow. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, that one is really really beautiful.
yeah,
自在实
very
验体验自
beautiful.
在. Chinese is
Ah,
very interesting. The
yeah,
the
yeah, the
the
Mandarin.
the
Yeah,
yeah the Mandarin is very interesting. They will
yeah,
reverse it. It's just like we are saying in English. Uh, life itself is the meditation, and
yeah,
then meditation is life itself.
yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that in English lah. In
Correct.
English.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, but
Mm.
the Chinese word flows very nicely, huh? But yeah,
Correct,
it's very
correct.
beautiful, huh? Yeah,
The
it's
meaning can be
it's
expressed out so
yes,
beautifully.
yes, correct. Yeah, I
Mm.
also enjoyed the sharing by Alicia and
Yeah, yeah,
Sister Elsie about this, about life
yeah,
itself.
yeah, yeah,
Is our greatest teacher, you
yeah,
just
yeah,
have
yeah.
to act and flow, move with
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
move with the life. But actually, life is also nature, lah, brother Theo. So you
Yeah,
just move with
that's
nature.
why it's nature, because
Yeah.
nature is governed by a set of its nature's law. That's why it's the movement within the conditioned world. That's why they are dependent originating, following what? Nature's law, the Pancha Niyama, the five universal order of nature, the physical law, the biological order, then the spiritual law of karma, mind, and consciousness or truth. So all this they will fall into place. That's why the teaching of the Buddha is very unique, based on truth. That's why we call his teaching the Dhamma. Dhamma is truth, nothing else. Nature's truth, like you say. Nature is our greatest gift. Because of nature, everything is there. It manifests in accordance. That's why suchness, ta, the way it is. So all these are part of nature's phenomena, which are very beautiful. And when you have the Dhamma and understanding, they all fall into place and develop the understanding until it is so wonderful, so beautiful, and so amazing. That's why true emptiness is wonderful existence, and life become interesting, amazing. So all these are possible, and they are the real reward for cultivators of the way. To realize all this, to have all this understanding, is to understand the deeper aspect of the spiritual cultivation that can give rise to all this spiritual, what they call, aspect of understanding life, which is basically the third phase of Dhamma, Pativeda. And to have Pativeda, you need to be an enlightened being. You need to awaken. If you don't have the enlightenment and the awakening, you cannot experience those phase of understanding and give rise to the third phase of Dhamma, Pativeda. So today a lot of good condition for all this beautiful sharing to arise. Sadhu, you continue, yeah.
Brother, I will share a little bit about daily mindfulness. My
Sadhu.
experience,
Yes.
my experience with my son. My experience with my son. Okay, this morning we were having breakfast together. So we were just quiet, eating our own food, and then after a while, because my son is hardly spending time enough with us, so
good.
Because he's working, so weekend is the only time that we really spend time, So I asked him, so I asked him, because he's eating quietly, and I'm eating quietly, so that I asked him, are you eating mindfully or are you thinking, I asked him.
So how did he respond?
Yes, actually, Brother, I just want to like give him some food for thought, so
yes,
I mean,
food for thought,
because he's not into Buddhism, so I do not want to like force him into anything, but I just want
that
him
is
to have
very important.
food for thought, so that he is like trigger him to like, what are you saying, that kind of thing,
make him curious,
yes. But I also don't want to scare him, don't want him to scare him.
Oh, definitely.
So I
You
just
have to develop the understanding to actually not to panic him. Otherwise, they develop the fear. They don't want to talk to you. Every time you arise that topic, they say, no, mom, not now. In fact, a lot of Kayamita, they too eager to share the Dhamma with the children, end up disappointed. Because they themselves not stable yet. They can't explain a lot of things. Then their children, they are now at the age where they, like your son, I think, is about to enter the career life, the working life. So during those phase, their priority is different. Their views, opinion, and conditioning of things are different. So they more interested in that type of life that they are going through during that phase. So if you try to ask them to do things that they don't really understand or they are not interested in, sometimes they can be very upset and unhappy. And I have heard a lot of Kayamita told me that, but dear, why my children like that? I want to help them. I want to train them in mindfulness. they ignore me and they tell me, oh, I say the way you approach it was wrong. It's not to say they ignore you and tell you, oh, because they look at you, they also don't want to end up becoming like you, understand? Unless you manifest that Dhamma understanding and has become so different, then they will be curious. How come my parents suddenly become so different? Now they are so considerate, they are so understanding in the way they approach relationship, and they have so much joy in life. They are no longer like normal people in the past, heedless, worry, have problems. And through the observation, they will know. Then they will become curious. During that time when there is condition, you can bring up the topic, especially when they have problem, when they are going through crisis in life or have certain problem confronting them. That is the best time. But also provided they are ready to listen. Then I realize it's beautiful, beneficial. That's why even Sui, my daughter also, and my son, I never force them. I never say, oh, you must learn the number. No. Like initially, my wife also worried. Say, wow, no more going to Sunday school. Now they join the youth. They become so different. Like normal young kid, very interested in fashion and new things and all. Say, then he say, don't want to teach them the Dhamma. I say, you forget about it. Their time will come when the condition fall into place. It will happen. Otherwise, just let things be, because you cannot just want things your way and want to change people. How do you know this is good for them? Their life, you don't know. You have to observe them and see what is it that they want. Sometimes they come in a different way, but you will come to know. Yeah, finally, they are your children. Why are they your children? It will manifest. Then you will understand. Uh, then you will know it's meant to be. Sooner or later, they will have this understanding. The time will come. So be patient and let it be. Then, like Sui, about I think 5 or 6 years ago, she just came back and she later on start to understand what I share, what I teach. She go and register for that retreat, the 9-day Cameron Highland. Actually, not easy for her to get leave. She had to conserve most of her leave until that retreat. That's why that last few years, when she attended the retreat and the spiritual trip with me, she actually used most of his leave for spiritual things. So that was how it can happen. When the time comes, they will move. When the time comes, they will search. They will develop the curiosity and the understanding. Then later on, when she really understand all this, she become very different. So be patient and let things be. Then it will manifest. For your case, it's okay because initially you want to like arise food for thought, make him curious, prompt him because you were eating breakfast together. So just sometimes you can start the conversation in the way you believe. It can trigger off what you have actually thought of. So see how it manifests. Then from there you will know how to whether to approach it in a different manner or to continue along that line of discussion so that the interest can be there. So all these are natural, very beautiful. In fact, early on, some Kayamita also say, in fact, I can recall a few of them. Then they realize that, like I always say, they have their karma, they have their life, let them live. Then just let things be. When there is condition, only say something, share something. Otherwise, let things be. Through this understanding, you become beautiful. Then through your own virtue, your own quality, your own transformation, they will come to understand that you have become different. And one day, they themselves will share with you through their observation, they realize you have changed for the better and you have become so different. Then they will be interested in your story. Like I used to share with Sui and all those things later on. So they know a lot of things about me, my past, and all those things now. And I say all this will help them in the future. Then she also able to witness how all this evolve, like the Kayamita, the website, the sharing, the spiritual trip, and all the activity. Everything is like you never believe it can happen. The spiritual field is like that. Nature is like that. So for you, Pocheng, it can also manifest. So what happened after that? You continue here.
So he suddenly become curious. I was surprised, that he
Oh,
asked a
okay.
question. Normally he will just keep quiet, continue keep quiet.
Ah,
Normally, but this time I was surprised. He said, "What is mindful?" He asked me.
ah. Oh, that's
So,
good.
but I don't want to scare him with all the
Yeah,
definition.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
just asked him lah, is your mind full of thoughts or you have space between thoughts?
Ah,
So I started with that. Then he's become, ha, smile. He laughed. He laughed. He laughed. Then after that, you know what, Brother Tia, I told him,
ah, ah.
because he loved gym. He loved exercise. He loved to exercise. So I used
Oh,
that to explain to him. I said, when you are exercising, are you
ah,
full of thoughts or you
yeah.
are observing
Sadhu.
your action? Your
Yeah, that one
action,
is very good.
your breathing,
He's attentive.
Yes, as you bring up your whatever weightlifting things
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
observing your action. So
yeah.
I told him, you observe your exercise in the gym. What do you do? Are you
Mm.
observing or you are full of thoughts?
Wow,
I just
sadhu.
leave it as that. I just leave it as that. Let him think for himself,
Yeah, yeah,
observe for
yeah,
himself.
yeah,
So because he do the exercise every day, so I said,
yeah,
you think about it, Then
yeah.
we start our conversation.
Wow, sadhu, sadhu.
I thought it was so beautiful, Brother Tia,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think
It's
of that
it's
to
a
tell
very
him.
good start. Yeah.
Yes,
Then later
because
on, if you see him not himself, like moody, got something troubling him, yeah, you can sense already. Then that time you got condition, you can start to discuss again. He said, do you realize when you have a situation or a problem or something disturbing you, you cannot become your usual self. Even when you exercise, the thought keep on coming, like haunting you and all things. Did you experience that? That will trigger. Then you will tell you, yeah. This thing is making me like not so natural. So then it like interfere with my exercise and all that. Right? Then you can share with him. Exercise is what you are interested in. That's why you agree to spend time doing it. And when you do it, you do with joy and understanding that it's good for health. And this is what you want to do. So in life, a lot of things is based on our own understanding and interest. If we have passion, we will do it well, and we will do it with joy and faith and understanding. Uh, but when we have problem, the thought they will come and haunt you and actually create the disharmony. Uh, then make you not natural. You are not yourself. You worry. And what is worry? What is fear? What is anxiety? So all this, it will become the teaching. Uh, when you go through these mind states of fear, worry, anxiety, are you peaceful? You are not peaceful. You are restless. Uh, so these are mind states that are not conducive for the peaceful life, for the happy life, for understanding. Then if you cannot resolve your problem, this will make you worse. That's why whatever happened in life at that time, you can start to share. Do not worry. Do not panic. Do not become anxious. Do not fear. You just have to come to terms with the reality, accept it. Then, with a clear mind, contemplate, reflect what happened. How can I resolve this amicably? How can I move? How can I develop the understanding so that I don't harm people, I don't hurt people, and yet I can resolve this amicably? So all this will lead us back to the teaching, the Dhamma. Then she will be interested because outside, even psychiatrists cannot use this to help them. Psychiatry will give them medication. You cannot sleep. Okay, I will give you some medication. Or you got problem. Or maybe panic attack. I will use the hormone pill to help you increase your certain type of hormone so that your panic attack is not so severe, so that it won't affect you so much. Then they will talk to you. They all normally use knowledge and intellect to actually come out with solution. But all these are not permanent fix. They are usually temporary fix that won't root out the problem. So they will see the big difference. Then later on, when they start to develop the understanding that you can help people and let them come out of depression and all those things, solve their problem, or then they look at you differently. Oh, no, my parents very good. Then they will even tell their friends. So for my kid, my son and my daughter, they heard about me through outside people saying, hey, your dad, this one your dad. Oh, I see he's very good. They heard from outside. That's why they have this respect. Then they are able to know if they need anything, they can come and talk to me. Because for me, I don't force them to do anything. So all these are beautiful. Watching you have started well. So sadhu to you. Give it up.
Sadhu, Brother. That's a very good sharing on how to help him later on, But for this, for the time being, this is enough, for
enough. Because this is the
start.
beginning.
Yes.
And you are doing it for the first time.
Yes.
So later on, you will know how to actually bring forth the understanding to help other people too. Not necessarily only your children. But it's good to start from your own children, your family, and all things. But be patient, let things be. Just allow things to manifest. Accord and flow. Do not resist. Do not try to want to change them and all those things. But all this you will understand because you can see your mind is already sensitive, mindful, aware, and it will not do all those things that is negative. It cannot do already. Uh, you cannot insist that they follow you. They must understand this. They must learn. No more. You become very different. You become very sensitive. Then you just let things be. Sometimes you just joke with them, develop the joy. So all this understanding is very beautiful. But to observe them is very important. I remember when my kids were young, I observed them. Then I saw there were a few occasions where my son very young that time. I told you before that he got one classmate passed away. I think standard 3 year old. Oh, then he didn't know that he passed away. He was asking because in the class, the two of them were top students and they can talk very well. They were very close friends. Then finally, he becomes so curious. He go and ask the teacher, "How come my classmate didn't turn out for school for so many days?" Oh, then the teacher has to talk to him. Then after that, he cried. He cried. Then he came back. He those few days he was not himself. Then I observed, I saw, and slowly I had to sit down and talk to him. I cannot straight away ask him what happened. I said, uh, you doesn't look normal today. It seems like you have some problem. Is it something in school or what? Or is it your friend or whatever? At first he don't want to talk. Then suddenly he break down and he cried. Then he told me, he said, my teacher told me, he said, my this classmate died already. So I said, there's a reality. He is dead. You like it or not, no matter how close your good friend or what, there is memory. Yeah. So what happened in life is things will change, things will evolve, condition different, it will just happen. So when it comes to all this, it's actually good for him. That's why he went through all those things. Then finally, I told him, it's only a thought. It's only a thought. If you hold on to that thought, you will become afflicted, miserable. And that time, he was so young. And yet, after the next day, he came and talked to me. Oh, Daddy, you are right. It's only a thought. Finish his problem. No more. Oh, he no more sad, no more. He can just forget about it. Yeah. So it shows they have the past. They can understand you. Yeah. So all these are the example that you can have, and you will experience that. So for your case, Bojeng, is a good start. Maybe for you, this life, you came to know the Dhamma much later when your children is already very big. That's why now you don't have the condition when they are still young to observe all this. But now it's still not too late. It's still not too late. So a lot of these things can still become something very beautiful and amazing as you go through life. That's why life itself is your greatest learning, teaching place. Very
Thank you,
good.
Brother Teo. Thank you, Brother Teo Kanten.
Yes, good evening, Brother Teo, and okay, Amita. Okay, it's a bit close to 6, but okay, a quick and short one. It all happens 12 years ago when my father passed away suddenly, and I, as the elder son, I have to sort of like took over his role, in the business, and it usually is a family business, business and the rental business, you see, and the business itself, before I was in, it already got a lot of problems because of relative. Some of the problem with the relative, you see. So one of the relatives have been have a lot of arguments, and even in the court, with my father's and others relatives, you see, for about 10 years, you see. So I was witnessing that throughout my, when I grow up, you see. And then when my father passed away, and then without really handover, I have to step in, you see, and to sort of like and the shareholder, I mean the relative that have having problem with us, you see, keep on giving us problems, and at that point of time, another friends introduced me. They said that there's another lawyer at KL that's interested in joining us, our business, you see. At that time, 12 years ago, but Nest was very popular and very demanding, you see. It was sort of like a very good business. So and really, you see, when I look back, contemplate about these incidents, it was really a karmic. The the timing and the meeting with the, the partner is so perfect. It's really a perfect storm, All right. And he was so nice, nice in talking and doing out the planning for us to say that, this is how he's going to help us to do, develop, you see, when he joined and all these things. And not more than 1 month, see, when he stepped in, is it he wanted this and that, and no, at that time, my in the initial plan was that, my relative, said that if since you want to sort of like, develop business with the partner, so they will just share their share to the partner, you see, then just left 2 of us, you see. Then this is what I told my relative, you see. Then when he stepped in, he wanted to reduce further, you see, the price. And then I say, cannot, the price is already very good because of me, and my relative that wanted to support me. That's why they're willing to lower the share to sell it to you. And they're actually quite good, actually. Because why? Because with that, I hold back, you see. I say that, my relative are not going to sell their share to you, you see. So let him only just a shareholder, you see. And that's why I say my coming also very bad coming, but not so as bad as that. Because if it's left only me and him, I think I will die straight away. Because and from that on, you see, from that on, because he's a lawyer, he keep on using all the tactic, threatens, you see, and even ask gangsters, see, to beat out my uncle until my uncle unconscious, went to the hospital, and we have the witness reported to police, and at the end there's nothing, case closed. And then there were many months that I have to went to the accountants, to the lawyers, to the bankers, to to look at the case, because I was called to the court, you see. And it was it's not like the movie, and I was as if like in the movie that I went to court. When I look at the the case and all this, the reading, the writing, is so complicated. And there were days that when I woke up in the middle of night, it was 1:30 only, and I couldn't sleep. And there was carry on for few nights, until the 4th day, where my physical cannot stand, and it was just collapse and just slept over. And at the time I suspected I got depression, because really, you see, I've never encountered this kind of things. And I'm just a normal person, I'm just an ordinary normal. And I always ask myself, you see, say, why it happened to me? And I'm just a normal person, you see. So until I met Brother Teo, you see, and I review. I mean, I was holding out until eventually I reviewed to him. They asked him, I asked him, Brother Teo, to out, and then talk about all these things, you see, because I really don't understand why this kind of thing could happen to a person like me, such an ordinary person, you see, where I don't really do a lot of bad things, see, in my grow up. Then after Brother Teo talked to me, said that this is coming, you see. And before Brother Teo talked about this, I actually met another person, you see. The person was very funny. He said that, well, in Chinese, he said that the Tian would not simply give a person a task, you see. And then I told my friend, I talked to my friend, said, maybe 看错人啊, I say, 看错隔壁, like the gangster, is it 点错相啊? It's like, I say, so, and Brother Teo talked to me, said that, this is definitely coming. And then, in the past you must have done something like that. Now you just the role have changed. You being the victim, and then you have to go through all these kind of things. And I really slowly, and then initially I couldn't understand or even accept, because I said that I'm I, I don't have the capability to see the past. You see, how could this all happen to me? But eventually, slowly, I accepted it. I asked for repentance.
That was very important.
Yeah. And then I talk to songs. All this is, and really, you see, yet despite all the things that I have done, there's little change, you see. And then until recently, which is, I think now is about 10, after 12 years, 12 years, you see, things start to move, as it's like, we wanted, because the relationship has been sour, you see, for so many years, you see. And all of these 10 years, I have given the best of my youth, you see.
Yeah.
Really, you see. And I suspected, I mean, which I think so, is it my blood pressure actually was developed since then, you see, because the pressure was so huge, and I cannot find anybody to talk to, you see, and except for just doing asking for forgiveness and all those things. Yeah, then things start to slow, as it's like we eventually sort of like last week we sort of like we got the buyer, you see, that's wanted to take over the building, you see. And that was the one of the only asset that we have in the business, you see. And that will significant sort of like a turning point. And we are now going through the legal process of disposing the property, the asset, and hopefully thing will just get smooth, you see. And what happened was that 2 months when I met up with the lawyer was so good to me.
Yeah.
He even told the potential buyer, said that Mr. Tay, he can be trusted. I was looking at him saying, when the person really when they talk, really they have no punji, but that really let me see the truth of how to be sorry to say a real businessman, see. And it proven that I'm not a very good businessman, see. I can't be, see. And I no way close to that. But I'm glad. What I'm glad is like I met, because of this, throughout this incident, really a hard learning incidents that let me really surrender myself and put into the practice. And I'm by nature I'm a very impatient person. And this thing really dragged me for 12 years and really tested my patience. And really sadhu, I don't know what to say.
Sadhu. Very good. Thank you so much for the good sharing. So I think later with that we end first. So maybe later on I will add on something. But for the moment, I think it's enough. Let us rejoice with all the good sharing by Sister Poching and Jin Hong. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.